Yeah, beginning, I took a look at just a quick look at say the topic, mindfulness and compassion. And of course that is a important aspect of our practice, and aspect in terms of the qualities of the Buddha. These are, and when we say qualities of the Buddha, we're not. It's not just thinking about some historical figure who lived 2,500 years ago, but these are qualities of the awakened mind, the awakened heart, and or possibilities within every heart, every mind. And I think it's important and helpful to kind of bringing that up. That these are fundamental qualities. Like mindfulness is of course, it's a buzzword in the society and the culture, but it's also pointing to an alertness, attention, waking up to experience in this present moment, and so this quality of being awake, being alert, being present, and then the quality of compassion, which is a sense of care, concern, say empathy and sympathy for all living beings, and that's an aspect of all of our hearts, really. This is a fundamental quality that we can be tapping into. We can be taking as a refuge. So, because sometimes we try to it's kind of like flog ourselves into mindfulness and compassion, and sort of, okay, I got to whip myself into shape so I can be mindful and compassionate, and we overlook the fact that it's actually, if we could just get out of the way, we would be aware, awake. We'd be compassionate. We would be kind. We'd be say empathetically responsive to the world around us. It's a natural quality within the heart. So that sense of reminding ourselves and encouraging ourselves. So it's kind of also it's on a certain level, it's not so much of a say quality that we have to get, but it's an attitude that we can say establish or remind ourselves of. Because sometimes when we think of, and we do this with all sorts of things, but assuming compassion is a thing that we have to get, and of course, then we get it, then we can have it. But it's it's good to question that in the sense of, no, this is it's an engagement like engaging our own hearts with compassion and engaging with the world with compassion. And that kind of changes the way we relate to it. And I think it's a lot softer, maybe, and a lot more alive because we have to figure out ways to make this, make this into something that is alive, and then also something that is lived, being able to live this mindfulness and compassion. So these are aspects of for reflection, and of course it is. And when we speak of living, it's. I mean, to me, it's interesting. Like you read the Buddha's words on loving kindness, and to me, it's a very interesting sutta in this, particularly from that perspective, in the sense that it's not about you should be loving and kind at all times like this, and setting an ideal that we have to try to live up to. But it is sort of, no, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. To be able and upright, straightforward, gentle in speech. These are all things that we can be doing, we can be living, we can be embodying, and and that transforms us. The more we are able to just live our lives skillfully and with an intention of responding to, because classically the quality of compassion is a response to suffering, and that sense of wanting to alleviate suffering, one's own suffering and the suffering of others. Say loving kindness is traditionally sort of, one is wishing for the happiness of course they're all obviously interconnected, but I think that aspect of as a response to suffering is interesting, because of course the Buddha's foundational teachings, the Four Noble Truths, are very much concerned with dukkha, suffering, and the ending of suffering. And so compassion plays a huge role in that. And there's because when we pay attention to dukkha, in the sense of that, I mean, suffering is a bit strong, maybe, and but because it's much broader than that sense of discontent, dissatisfaction, dis-ease, stress. When we pay attention to that, the heart has to open to it, and that and there's I remember hearing a teaching that said that these teachings are for putting on your heart. And it's because when your heart opens, then they can fall in. And it's really beautiful, that image. So that the teachings of the Buddha are for putting on the heart, and then that directing attention, opening our hearts to experience, and being willing to acknowledge, recognize, be present with suffering, then that, the heart opens, and we've got these teachings that can fall into the heart that is open. So it's a beautiful expression. And that sense, another word for compassion in the in the Buddha's teachings or discourses is the word anukampa, and it's like there's a very it comes up many places, and it's when the Buddha is encouraging his disciples to go forth and to teach, and to for teaching out of compassion for the welfare and happiness of many. The word is anukampa, and the word means to, like, it's from a verb kampati, which means to tremble, and so anukampa is like to tremble with, to resonate with, to be shaken with, and that in the sense that one is moved by the plight of us all. I mean, we're if you ask anybody, or ask even ourselves before we started practicing, or ask anybody in your family, "Oh, are you suffering?" "Oh, no, everything's fine." And let's keep going. Let's not look at that. But that willingness to resonate with, to tremble with the difficulties of this human existence, and to respond with kindness and compassion. It's such a beautiful response, and that's where taking the limitations of our human existence and turning them into benefit, turning them into that which allows us to grow in wisdom and discernment. So it's a very beautiful sentiment, and a very beautiful image to be bringing to mind. And so that sense of laying, and it has to have the foundation of mindfulness. It has to have that foundation of clarity and attention, so that when we, because you can't just leap over the hard work of making the mind peaceful, clear, stable, steady, open. It's and just Um, and then all of a sudden manifest wisdom and compassion. You really have to um, get a feel for it, so that and then having the patience to be present with the mundane, with the ordinary, right? How our mind tries to avoid it. So then the that sense of being able to resonate with the mind that wants to escape, to tremble with the mind that seeks distraction or gets irritated or averse. And those are, one can't just dismiss it. One has to own it. We have to open to it. And that's where, but we can't be, say, disturbed by that. We can't be upset by that. We can't be shocked by that. Sort of like, the longer that one practices, the less likely one is to be shocked at some of the stupid things that come through one's mind. I mean, and that's wonderful, because then it's getting real, and it's not dismissing it, but it's okay. This is real. I mean, oftentimes people will come to me and say, "Oh, my practice is falling apart every time. I've got these. I've had such a difficult time. My mind is all over the place." I said, "Great." What do you mean, great? Well, this is real. This is the nature of having a human mind, having a human body, having a human existence, and that's the foundation of compassion. And that sense of being able to tremble with that and accepting it, to resonate with it. With that sympathy, kindness, and then recognizing, of course, I mean, the Buddhist teachings point this out, but they also point out the fact that there is a way out. There is an escape from all of this. There is a liberation that we can experience, and it's not something that is all that far or distant from us, whether in space or in time. It just is. That's one of the qualities of the dhamma that we say that we recite, and it's imminent here and now. It's tangible. It's possible. And of course, that's why compassion is such a important piece of the puzzle, because when we're able to establish compassion, then we'll tend to have a lot more patience with ourselves, patience with the world around us, and that's a huge piece of the puzzle. Of one of the fundamental teachings of the Buddha, that there's a Kanti Paramang Tapotitika. It's sort of it's in his. It's like a teaching that the Buddha gives, where he's condensing things down into just little nuggets, and that's and so in that they say patience is the foremost quality for the freeing the mind from its entanglements. It's a and so compassion is very much a part of that, and so the sense of lifting that up into the heart and reminding ourselves that is a quality to be to be cherished and to be pay attention to. So when we sit, just as an example, I mean, people will have different techniques or methods that of meditation that they use. I tend to rely on mindfulness of breathing, and so that but just using the breath as a vehicle for one, establishing attention, but then also establishing that kind of attitude or perspective of, say, of compassion, so that and all practice really has to be grounded in the body. It's not, you can't, and the Buddhist teaching is quite the Buddha is extremely skillful in his teaching, but that so much of the teaching always coming back to the body, and mindfulness of breathing is a vehicle whereby the Buddha gives a path that takes one to knowledge and deliverance. So that using that fundamental sensation of the breath coming in, the breath going out, and paying attention to it, not forcing attention, not scrambling to try to get attention, but just settling into that simple rhythm of the breath coming in and the breath going out. Breathing in, just holding that sensation, and just to pay attention where it's most, say, obvious and most comfortable in that sense. Okay, for some people it might be tip of the nose, might be in the, say, the nasal cavity, back in the throat, in the chest, the abdomen. But however wherever one experiences it more predominantly, is to have a sense of ease of establishing attention there. And oftentimes and I do it myself, and I've heard it so many times with teachers of meditation. They'll use, watch the breath as it comes in, watch the breath as it goes out, and there's a to me that's a bit problematic already. Because the Buddha himself, the predominant word that the Buddha uses is in the scriptural language is patisangveti, which means to experience, experiencing the breath as it comes in, experiencing the breath as it goes out, experiencing the whole body, experiencing feelings, experiencing the mind. I mean, this is experiencing. And the Ajahn Jeff translates it as sensitive to, because the word is say literally it's sort of like the same root as feeling, and then both the other, say pati and sang are amplifiers, and veti is that root of feeling. Vedana is like feeling in the five aggregates of being. So feeling, and the other, so fully feeling the in-breath, fully feeling the out-breath, fully feeling the whole body, fully feeling actual feelings that we have, fully feeling sensitive to the mind. And so it's embodying the experience. So breathing in, breathing out, being willing to be present with. And as we attend to our experience in that way, then we can set that intention of, say, of compassion, of caring, of kindness, of trembling with, sensitive to, and that allows us to hold our experience in having a container to hold our experience, and the bigger the container, then the more skillful or the more comfortable we can experience these different aspects of our being, which, you know, happiness is one, suffering is another, having a kind of neutral experience. I mean, these are all just aspects of experience, and we experience the things that we like or we dislike, or we want or we don't want, we approve of, we don't approve of, and we tend to start proliferating from that. We start moving out of that space and creating a story, and whether it's the story of our successes or the story of our failures, it's always about me, and that's really worthy of compassion. So just a sense, holding it with that quality of kindness, of compassion. We can be present with it. We can recognize it. We can acknowledge and see it clearly, and we can let it go. As I remember Ajahn Chah, my teacher, saying, I said, well, there's only two, people complain about how hard the practice is, or so, difficult and complicated it is. And he said, It's not. There's only two things you need to do. All you need to do is know and let go. And, and it's, but of course, there's a few details in that knowing and the details in the letting go. But it's helpful to remind ourselves to try to keep things simple, try to keep them straightforward, try to keep them uncomplicated. It's one of the injunctions that the Buddha gave one time. Do not complicate the uncomplicated. Don't proliferate on that which doesn't need to be proliferated on. The mind doesn't need to be proliferated. The world doesn't need to be proliferated on. So it's keeping it simple, keeping it straightforward. And of course, one of the keys to doing that is this quality of compassion, because then it's got an appropriate, skillful container to hold it and to respond to our experience in a skillful way. And that sense of trembling with, that kindness, that openness, recognition, but not buying into the story, not getting hooked by the drama of it, and then we keep returning to mindfulness and compassion, just the knowing and the kindness, because that letting go is an incredible kindness. You can't let go out of aversion. It's going to come back and bite you. You have to let go out of compassion. You have to let go with kindness. And that's it's just such a, essential tool in our practice. And that returning to the breath, that simple rhythm, the breath coming in, breath going out, the establishing of a posture of uprightness without getting stiff and tight or tense, but an uprightness so that there is one's alert, one is present, and then one can just returning to the knowing, returning to that quality of awareness. So these are some perspectives on directing attention, establishing mindfulness, and perhaps we can just sit quietly now as a meditation and let some of this settle. Let some of it fall into the heart and see where it goes. So we can sit quietly for a while.
I'm not able to unmute you. I don't know
I
why.
got it.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Maybe we could have just a very quick break, quick bio break, and then come back for Q&A.
Thank you.
Just a couple minutes.
So if anybody like to write your questions down, you can write them in the chat, or raise your hand on the side, and I think that's what's happening. Yes, Ajahn? Q&A?
Yeah, Q&A.
Okay.
And if you'd maybe if you could moderate it, that would be great. Either way, it's not a huge group, so that if people have questions, but the easiest is to so if somebody has questions, just to write it, and then you can read them for me.
Okay. So I thought maybe we do both ways. If they want to raise their hand, and then also somebody doesn't want to talk, they can write it down. So Sarit looks like she's raising her hand. So Sarit, unmute yourself and go for it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thank you, Ajahn, for being here. I really appreciate it. We've been talking a lot today, with Manija and her guidance about loving kindness and compassion. And I really appreciate it that you continue with the topic, because it was so it's filled in a lot of issues that we're dealing with on daily basis. So my question actually for Manija earlier was the same question that I want to ask you, maybe to see your intake on it, and I'll appreciate it. Because we said us as practitioners, we try to do the best to learn how to be kind and compassionate towards others, and to find kindness towards ourselves as well. However, we are surrounded with people who are unskillful and don't really know how to bring compassion and loving kindness to others or to the world. And so my question is actually, how do we deal with people who keep on hurting and being ignorant about when trying to teach them or show them the way? And I use the word ignorant instead of stupidity, because sometimes this is how I feel around some people, and I don't know how to save myself, or if I need to save myself, actually. Manage earlier said that we need to disengage, but sometimes there are people in our life that we cannot really disengage from. So my question is, what do I do? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things is one is recognizing that most people actually don't want to know. So it's and then trying to just getting frustrated by that, because that's creating suffering for ourselves. So it's not, we're immediately not being very compassionate to ourselves. So it's a that's where that quality of patience really comes in, because the and patience is not. I think one of the things that is just to clarify in terms of how we conceive of patience, because oftentimes we think of it as just sort of putting up with something. When you have to be patient with something, you're putting up with something unpleasant, waiting for it to be over, and that's not a particularly beautiful quality. If you and certainly in terms of the Buddha's teachings, then the Buddha uses patience as a what's called a barami, and these are wholesome and beautiful spiritual qualities that are integral to liberation, or to freedom from suffering. So it's the actual word barami indicates a certain crossing over, like crossing over from stupidity to wisdom, or from ignorance to clarity. So it's these are qualities that help us to cross over from our defilements to purity. So it's patience is an important quality, and and you have to be very patient in order to wait and see if one has an opening to actually advise or guide or encourage others or correct them. As I said, most people just aren't interested. And the more you talk about it, the less interested they get. And so, so it's that being very patient, and you'd be surprised how that quality of not jumping in and reacting out of irritation or aversion or fear to others and their conduct, how much that actually helps people to, if they're at all reflective, they sense something is you, oh, this person has got something, and they'll give some attention, and if they don't, then that's fine, because it's not our mission to try to correct everybody, and because we can't do it anyway, and but when people show an interest or show an inclination, then we have an opportunity. Like one of the things that's embedded in like the protocols for a Buddhist monastic is that we're actually not allowed to teach. It's an offense against our discipline to teach if somebody has not requested or asked for teaching, and that helps a lot, because even when people ask, there's always resistance, but it is a very much an aspect of human nature, and the more we are able to respond with kindness and compassion and care, then even if it's not overtly expressed, people feel something different, and they tend to take an interest or have some openness, and also because again, this aspect of suffering. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror and sort of, okay, what new way can I find to suffer today? I mean, I mean, they do it anyway, but they don't set that intention. And so it's a so when there is an example of somebody who is not agitated, who's not angry and upset, who's not worried and fearful, that grabs people's attention. That's radically different. So then it provides an opportunity to speak or to guide, and then even then you have to be pretty careful. You can't, because people have all sorts of barriers up, and you can't just sort of let's say storm the castle within it. It's a good way for a lot of our own suffering. So that sort of patience and compassion and kindness is definitely translatable to our to our own experience. We have to look after ourselves, and then and it's not as if one is closed to helping others, but it's also one has to look for the appropriate opening or occasion, and then be ready to, especially if it's people who are really close to us, then you've really got to choose carefully. Timing is so important. I mean, I remember Ajahn Chah, my own teacher, sort of saying, that we live together as community, as monastics, and we have a certain duty to correct each other, point things out to each other. But remember Ajahn Chah saying, just be really careful how you exercise that. Say, do not correct somebody after, like we especially in Thailand, we eat one meal a day, and then early morning you go out on alms round, you walk to the village, you come back, and then you clean up, you do a food, and then you wait for the meal. And he said, you know, he said, do not correct somebody before the meal. That's bad timing. Even if it's true, it's you said, if you've got an issue with somebody, wait till after the meal. They're happy. They'll be a lot more ready to receive it and have a dialogue with you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So, Ajahn, I have a couple of questions. One is, well, I think you answered one, but the other one is from Glenn. He says, Ajahn Pasanno, thoughts on promoting aware investigation in developing internal inquiries / questions, especially in regards to own actions, thoughts, behavior, etc.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that it's that aspect of inquiry and reflection and thinking carefully about our experience is really, it's an integral part of practice and training. It's I mean, sometimes there's an assumption somehow that, you know, all thought is an obstacle, or we've got to try to, in order to be peaceful, we've got to stop our thinking. But what we have to do is learn how to think carefully, or think with wisdom, and that is it's a part of training and tuning into to the thought processes and and our experience, our actions of a body, speech, and mind. You know, what's the results? I mean, when we sit down to meditate, it's just not our mind that we're sitting with. We're sitting with the actions and speech that we are oftentimes still reverberating through our mind, and we have to consider it, reflect on it, and how it's affecting us. And because some say, like with precepts, say in Buddhism, precepts are they're like a protection. They're protecting us and protecting others. And so it's there's a beautiful discourse where Ananda asks the Buddha, what is the benefit of, say, of virtue, of precepts, of you know, virtuous conduct? And the Buddha immediately asks, the benefit is non-remorse. It's just as and then because non-remorse sets up a cascade of wholesome qualities, of delight, of joy, of tranquility, of happiness, and that's how the mind settles. So these are related; they are not unrelated. So that sometimes lifting it up for reflection and investigation is very very important. And so that like there's a quality that is the Buddha praises in many places, and that is in the scriptural languages, yoniso manasikara, and it's translated in many ways. Wise consideration, skillful reflection, considered attention. I mean, many ways of translating it, and but it's that reflective quality that can pay attention to what we're experiencing now, and then start to connect the dots of, okay, where did this come from? How did this arise? What is the what do I need to incorporate? What do I need to do now? So that and what the image that the Buddha uses, he gives the image of in the early morning, just as the light is changing, there's the color of the dawn. And when one sees the color of the dawn, one is confident that a new day is definitely going to arise. And in the same way, when considered attention or wise reflection arises in the mind, one can be confident that the Noble Eightfold Path will be arising in one's life. So the Buddha puts a lot of importance on that. So this sense of, learning how to reflect, learning how to direct attention, how to think skillfully, because it's even if we can stop our thinking, doesn't necessarily mean that we're actually happy and peaceful. Oftentimes it's through a force of will we can slow it down or push it down, but it's only through understanding and see it, really deeply attentive and to all the processes of this human experience, that we can we can live and not get entangled in it, and not suffer with it. And so learning how to think, like there's a beautiful discourse where the Buddha basically laying down the foundation of his teaching and practice, and it's a discourse to his son, and it's a discourse where he's reflecting on one's actions before one's doing it, while one's doing it, after one's done it, the actions of body, speech, and mind. And so it's like learning how to reflect skillfully and thoroughly, and that foundation for the growth and development in this path. So,
if I may,
yeah,
Manaji, Longpor Pasana, I wish to take a moment to express my deep gratitude, as this is a reuniting of you and I from 1988.
Oh, really?
Really?
Aha.
So I was over at Wat Nang Ba Pong, and Ajahn Liam sent me over to Wat Pananachat.
Oh my gosh.
Spend the next couple of months with you and the rest of the monks underneath the concrete sala.
Ah, yes.
All there out of Ubon Ratchathani.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's great to see. Great to see somebody who was there and met me at that time and as wasn't completely turned off of Buddhism. That's great.
Oh, that happened. I can say, Luangpo Pasano, that your influence in the time that I was with you and in Thailand, that it has impacted my life and given me vitality and has helped.
Yeah, wonderful.
Many other people,
Mm.
because of the learning about the Buddha and the Dhamma, exercising the Dhamma, and being in a Sangha, and now reuniting with yours.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
My deepest heartfelt gratitude to your influence over 33 years ago.
Yes, yeah, that's a while ago. Yeah, that's great.
So the Dhamma does get shared, and it does continue on.
Yeah, it reverberates out. It's and yeah, it has that. It's the gift that keeps giving.
Many blessings, sadhu.
Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yes, I was excited to see he was a Samanera too. So we have another question from Laura. She says, when there is a recurring upsetting issue in and out of medication, that can probably be traced to childhood, how does one resolve
No,
this?
meditation. I'm sorry, meditation.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. So in and out of meditation that can probably be traced to childhood, how does one resolve this even though each time compassion and letting go are present?
Well, I mean that's. I mean some things some things are resolved through patience. Some things are resolved through wisdom. Some things are resolved through compassion. I mean, there's and on a certain level, everything needs a bit of all of it, really. But to me, it's more like the ability to see things in the light of Dhamma that is the resolution, as opposed to seeing it through the lens of personality and identity, because we all have our we have our personalities, we have our identities, we have our histories, and some of it is painful, and some of it is extremely pleasant and beautiful. But from the light of Dhamma, then it's seeing it as a unfolding of nature, as opposed to this is inherently me. And so it's not that one tries to push it away with Dhamma or wave the magic wand of Dhamma, but it's sort of like it's holding it in a way where we're not so identified and tied to it. And then we're giving it the space with compassion to arise and to cease. And of course, it's going to come in waves over time, especially if it's something that is like from childhood, that is a deep impression and imprint on the mind. Then that can take time, but that seeing clearly and holding it as an aspect of nature, as opposed to intrinsically me. That gives it an opportunity to resolve and release, like we can release and let go.
So I don't see any more written or hands. Anybody else have any thoughts? This is a very special time. to. Oh, Ellie has a question. When in meditation, how can you differentiate between thoughts that come up and messages that are being imparted to you by your higher self or the higher force?
Well, I mean, if it's higher, it should be peaceful and kind of peaceful, associated with well-being. If it leads to, because usually what happens, thought triggers thought is intrinsically, it's always going to have a memory associated, and memory and association that it has with it. It has a feeling tone to it, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And that is enough to trigger another thought, which triggers another thought, which triggers another thought. And so that's the ball keeps rolling. When we have thoughts that are associated with, say wisdom or clarity, then it will tend to lead us more to that which is toward peace, to relinquishment, to letting go, to well-being and ease. It's a natural part of the process. So it's learning how to pay attention, because sometimes those associations, memories, feeling tones are really compelling, and we get hooked into the story, the reaction, the proliferation, and it is sort of unsettling and somewhat agitating. Even if it's kind of good, in the sense, but still, we can still be stirred up by it, and then that sense of things settling is really important. That sense of ease and space coming into the mind, release and relinquishment coming into the heart. That's an indication of something aligned with truth, aligned with dhamma, as opposed to just thoughts that are even if they're well-meaning or they're intelligent even. I mean, sometimes those are the worst, because we can line up the logic to be investing in it really quickly, but it's still, in the end, we end up suffering.
Yeah. Wonderful. So we have a couple more. Please share the difference between Buddhist New Year's aspiration versus resolution.
Let's see. Well, I mean, it's similar in the sense of one is setting a resolve, making an aspiration, trying to encourage ourselves to commit to something that is useful, fruitful, beneficial, and that sense of like in again, another say barami, one of these very wholesome spiritual qualities is resolution. say, adhitthana. And that ability to make a determination or an aspiration or a resolution that is trying to lift ourselves up and move toward something that is really beneficial. And an aspect of, say, like of aspiration and resolutions or determinations, it's important for them to be practical rather than idealistic. We can torture ourselves with our, I mean, probably all of us have a whole lifetime of broken New Year's resolutions. And, because it's a good idea, a great idea at the time, but it's in the realm of thought and ideal. In an ideal world, this is my ideal me, and that's sometimes that's not so helpful. I think it's what is a resolution, what is an aspiration, the determination that actually is supportive and nourishing, as opposed to an ideal that I'm trying to conform to, trying to make myself conform to. So then you've got something to work with and support oneself as one continues to practice and to train and to grow. So I think that's maybe a difference of, say, a Buddhist resolution for the New Year's. Keep it practical, keep it wise. Be wise in what you're doing, but make it practical.
Thank you, Ajahn. This one I think you responded to with Laura's, but I will read it in case you want to say some more. How do we let go or relinquish the stories of traumas?
I think it was just maybe a little bit of a recap, in the sense of seeing the there's this aspects of say life, as our human life, as part of nature, where we are engaged in this process of nature, and part of nature is being subject to the whole range of experience, and praise and blame, gain and loss, happiness and suffering, the experience of having, say, acceptance and rejection. Those are all part of the human experience, and say Buddhist practice doesn't insulate you from any of that. What it does do is give you a perspective of, this is part of the world, and I can understand that. I can see it as a part of nature, and I can see it for what it is. It's not my intrinsic self. It's not my identity. It's not who I am. Those are things that happen. They can be seen. They can be understood. They can be held with compassion, and they can be released, and we can not be compelled to identify with them. And that isn't a dissociation. It is a standing in awareness and truth that is able to, because that's one of the aspects of compassion, this sense of kindness and trembling with, resonating with. Even if something is traumatic, it can be seen in its true light, and it can be felt, and it can be processed, and it can be let go of. And that doesn't. And some things take longer. Some things take more time. Some things can be seen pretty quickly and released. But that's not. One has to be patient with the process, and that's also where one relies on. It's not just me trying to deal with it. That's one of the reasons why the Buddha put a tremendous importance on good spiritual friendships, companions in this process of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and being having that shared experience and support with others who have similar values and similar perspectives. That's how we can support each other, and so that having good spiritual friendships is really important. And the Buddha himself, he never referred to himself as, I am the one and only great teacher, and I'm what he called himself. I am a Kalyana Mitta to the world. I am a good spiritual friend to the world. So that's the kind, drawing close to that kind of to the teachings, to teachers, to friends, and people who share a similar value. Good spiritual friendships. This is really important for healing trauma.
Now you see what I mean, guys. Okay, sorry. So Catherine says, I'm new to mindfulness. What small steps, suggestions would you give to a neophyte who is willing and ready to learn but need to take small steps? I believe that slow and steady is best way to proceed, but I want to establish a routine. What are your suggestions?
Great. I mean, just go for it. And experiment and try. And then there's go to there's tons of materials available, like publications. So if you go to like our website, Abhayagiri website, there's all sorts of publications, and some of it, like Ajahn Amaro, Ajahn Sujito, have very good introductions to mindfulness and meditation. There's some very nice publications that are done, well, from all of us, really. And if there's the Forest Sangha Publications is a kind of an umbrella that has all of our, there's our website, the Abhayagiri website. And then Forest Sangha Publications is kind of like an umbrella that has the all the different books, and then it's all and then that's an access point for various audio teachings, and there's teachings from monks and the nuns in our community as well, so that it's a great great resource. That'll keep you busy for quite a while.
Yes.
But yeah, I would just go about it slowly. Go about it, be practical, and enjoy the journey. Don't beat yourself up over it, or try so hard to be. That's one of the things that people try so hard to be perfect meditators or perfect Buddhists, and they make themselves insufferable.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Manajay, do you have a question?
Well, I was going to read one more. I do have a question. Thank you.
Okay.
Somebody's watching out for me. Thank you. Well, my question, Ajahn Lumpa, is I am so creative. It's beyond my own good. It's, for my own good. And especially when something that I'm feeling like it's good for people, for students, I come up with all these great ideas and I go for it. I act on it. And so sometimes I feel like, okay. So they're like shooting ideas, and because they're directed in a wholesome way, then they feel justified to follow and to act on. So that would be, how do I contain them?
Well, see, that's where it's paying attention to because something can be wholesome, be true, be good, but it's not peaceful. And so then that paying attention to the tone, because that it's sustainable. It's more sustainable when there's a certain peacefulness and a kind of maybe like a deeper well-being, and there's a kind of a satisfaction and contentment that. So that's you're learning how to tune into that, so that because it's also, temperament and personality don't necessarily go away. But we can direct it in skillful ways, so that. Say like somebody like Ajahn Chah, tremendous, very, really bright mind, really tons of energy to do things, and but he was also really able to channel it in ways that were really helpful for himself and helpful for others, and that. Or you think of one of the reasons why the Buddhist teachings are so rich is because obviously his mind is just thinking how to do things, how to and then like the different similes and comparisons. He's seen and he's reflecting of, that means like this. So it's like the mind is working. You don't need to shut that off, but you need to how do I channel it so it's sustainable. And that's something that we learn how to do, because it's we have to live with ourselves, and sometimes it just it gets tiring to have, a million ideas a minute, and to have more projects to do. So, just after, it's that okay, what is sustainable, what is workable, but it's also recognizing and delighting in the things that one is doing, so that if one's going to commit to something, then okay, that's just giving it enough reflection that okay, this feels right, but then it's a source of well-being, and our happiness is it's really important.
Yes.
And so that and having the happiness rooted and grounded in the skillful, in the wholesome, in the beneficial is really important.
Yes, thank you, Ajahn. So I have been very, very actually attentive to that. And ever since that the retreat ended, the monastic retreat ended, I have semi-continued semi-retreat, which I have not gone. Today will be 33 days that that I have not watched any television, no news, no Netflix, no Amazon, no music, and not because I made the effort, but it was effort. I just don't want to lose my happiness,
and I think that's important to recognize that we do this not because we're trying to be ideal meditators or ideal Buddhists, or where whatever. It is deeply satisfying.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and it's hard to explain that it is deeply satisfying, and I don't want to create longing. It's like I'm not missing because there is no longing, not now at least. I don't know about future, but now. Thank you. Yeah. So another question came from Glenn. I believe he would like for you to discuss a little bit. Is aspiration a desire? Is aspiration a desire?
It is. But it's really, I think it's a really important piece of the puzzle of Buddhist practice, because normally and quite rightly, we learn about the teachings, and we find out that say the whole purpose of the Buddhist teachings is to free the heart from suffering, and the cause of suffering, the Buddha says, is desire. So we've got to free ourselves from desire in order to be free from suffering, and that's true. But it's important to recognize that there's a technical term that the Buddha uses, that the desire that is the cause of suffering is tanha, and that is desire that is always linked with greed, hatred, delusion, always ends up with suffering as a result, and whether it's big or small, and is sometimes translated as thirst, craving. So there is that. But then there's another term that the Buddha uses and is translated as desire as well, and that is called chanda. And there's a set of teachings that were at the end of the Buddha's life. The Buddha, it's almost like a catechism of collected teachings that were, I mean, they're called the Wings to Awakening, these 37 different teachings. There's about 7, there's like the 4 bases of success, of spiritual success, 4 right efforts, 4 foundations of mindfulness, 5 spiritual faculties, 5 spiritual powers, 7 factors of awakening, and the Eightfold Noble Path. But anyway, the 4 bases of spiritual success is actually the first one of those sets. And the first quality is a base of spiritual success is chanda, and that's desire. So it's desire as aspiration, desire as motivation, and the word chanda is, if it's used on its own, it generally has a positive aspect in that sense of aspiration, motivation, because the next factor in, say, base of spiritual success is chanda. Virya is effort. So that in order for effort or energy to arise, one has to formulate an aspiration or a desire, a motivation, and that then one can follow through on that. And chanda can be also qualified so that it has a negative connotation. So that's in the teachings on like say the 5 hindrances in meditation. The very first one is kama chanda, sensual desire. So it's the aspiration for sensuality and gratification, stimulation. But then it can be qualified specifically in a positive. Dhamma chanda is that desire for the dhamma. Kusala chanda, desire for the wholesome, skillful. So, but that quality of aspiration, of desire as motivation is an important faculty that needs to be nurtured and attended to, because there's a place where the Buddha actually says, my teaching is a teaching of effort. It is a viryavada. It's not a teaching of inaction. It is a teaching of action. We have to engage. We have to engage with the practice. We have to engage with our life. And having skillful and wholesome desire, aspiration, motivation is really important.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. I can see my students saying, okay, manager, the next class is on the 4 bases of success, spiritual success. I can read their mind. That's what she said.
Yeah, go for it. Hold her to it.
I think that's what Spirit is thinking right now. And Laura and Randy. I know them. Good. Well, I don't see anything else, and it's 3:30, so we leave it up to you.
Okay. Well, I think I've talked enough. Delightful to spend time with you all. I mean, that's one of the great things of a global pandemic is all the teaching and connections that are made online, and it's a way of creating connection and used skillfully. So just to encourage you all to keep up with the practice and following the teachings, trying to bring them into the heart. And then you've got another bit left in your session. I will give it back to Manijay and leave it to her. So I'll take leave.